Hollywood's closet isn't as crowded as it used to be, but coming out in Tinseltown still takes guts. These 5 young white gay actors didn't just come out, they came through, breaking molds and rewriting what it means to be queer, talented, and in demand. You probably recognize number 4 from that sweet teen drama. But number 3? That one might change how you see everything. From cult TV to high-fashion spreads, their stories are raw, real, and way more complicated than the headlines suggest. It's not just about sexuality, it's about pressure, visibility, and the quiet battles behind the spotlight. Where are you watching from? Drop your country in the comments. We've got viewers from everywhere. And hey, take a wild guess. Who do you think made it to number 1? Stick around. This countdown might just surprise you. Lukas Gage. Too bold to stay hidden. Before 2020, Lukas Gage was just another promising young actor trying to make it in Hollywood. You may have seen him in a few roles, maybe recognized his face, but you probably didn't know him. Then came that Zoom audition. A casting director, unaware his mic was on, mocked Lukas's apartment during a remote audition. Lukas didn't lash out. He didn't shrink. He posted the video with a simple caption, PSA. If you're a shit-talking director, make sure to mute your mic on Zoom. The internet exploded. That moment didn't just go viral, it launched him. Not because he clapped back, but because he was real, relatable, and totally unbothered. The guy who just got humiliated publicly didn't crumble, he made headlines. Lukas Gage was officially on the map, but the question that quickly followed, is he gay? He didn't rush to answer. Lukas played queer characters on Euphoria and The White Lotus, kissed men on screen, and wore bold, non-binary fashion on the red carpet. He embraced queer aesthetics, but avoided hard labels. It drove people nuts. Some accused him of queerbaiting. Others praised him for refusing to fit into a box. When asked, he said, "Let people exist. You don't know their story." It was messy, it was modern, and it felt real. Then came the relationship with celebrity hairstylist Chris Appleton. The pair went public in early 2023, posting couple pics that sent Stan Twitter into a frenzy. Suddenly, Lukas wasn't just queer-coded, he was queer-confirmed. The two got married in Las Vegas. Kim Kardashian officiated. The photos? Iconic. The vibes? Chaotic and camp in the best way. But like many fast-burn romances, it didn't last. Within months, they quietly split. No scandal, no drama, just it didn't work out. Through it all, Lukas didn't spiral. He didn't retreat. He kept showing up. On carpets, on set, on social media. Still fluid, still fearless, still figuring it out in front of the whole world. His acting career kept climbing. He took roles that weren't defined by sexuality but never hid his identity. He gave interviews where he talked about the confusion, the freedom, and the pressure of being a queer actor in a media landscape obsessed with clarity. But what makes Lukas Gage the top of this list isn't just his looks or his credits, it's his energy. Lukas represents a new era, unapologetically fluid, sometimes messy, often misunderstood, but never ashamed. He challenges what it means to be out. He pushes back against the idea that identity has to be static or neatly packaged for public consumption. In a world still obsessed with boxes, Lukas Gage exists in between and makes it look damn good. Drop a 1 if you think not fitting into a box might just be the most powerful move of all. Tyler Alvarez. From Nickelodeon to owning his truth. For years, Tyler Alvarez was that charming, quick-witted kid you saw on your screen. The one who stole scenes on Nickelodeon's Every Which Way or made you laugh as Peter Maldonado in Netflix's mockumentary hit American Vandal. He had charisma, comic timing, and a face built for screen stardom. But behind all that charm was something he wasn't ready to share. Not yet. Tyler grew up in a strict Latinx family in New York City where being gay wasn't just taboo. It felt impossible. He once admitted he spent years pretending, even to himself. "I didn't want to accept it. I didn't want it to be real," he said in an emotional Instagram post that would later go viral. His coming out didn't come with a big magazine cover or red carpet declaration. It came in the middle of the pandemic, quiet, raw, and incredibly honest. He wrote, "I struggled with my sexuality for years. I was ashamed and kept it hidden from everyone I loved." That vulnerability struck a chord. Fans flooded the comments with support. Other young LGBTQ+ Latinx viewers saw themselves in him, finally. In an industry where Latin men are so often boxed into macho roles or stereotyped as overly sexual, Tyler showed you could be soft, funny, and queer. But coming out was just the start. Tyler didn't suddenly become the gay actor. He kept doing what he does best, acting his ass off. He landed roles in Never Have I Ever, Orange is the New Black, and the film Crush, often playing characters who, like him, were navigating identity with humor and heart. But behind the scenes, he was now free. You could see it in his interviews, in his styling, in the way he talked about his journey without trying to make it marketable or easy to digest. What makes Tyler different isn't just that he came out, it's that he allowed himself to be complicated. He's a queer man who still battles insecurity. He talks openly about how coming out doesn't instantly heal internalized shame. He's spoken about therapy, about crying alone, about learning to love himself after years of hiding. And let's be clear, Tyler isn't done yet. He's still on the rise, still auditioning, still building his body of work. But now, he's doing it authentically. No more filters. No more second-guessing who he's allowed to be in the room. He may not be the flashiest name on this list, but he might be the most relatable, because Tyler Alvarez doesn't represent the fantasy of coming out. He represents the truth, that it's messy, personal, and sometimes terrifying, but also worth it. And for every young queer kid watching him navigate the industry with quiet courage, he's already a star. Drop a 2 if Tyler Alvarez's story reminded you that coming out doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be yours. Kevin McHale, the quiet icon of a loud era. If you were a teenager in the early 2000s, you knew him. Kevin McHale wasn't just a character, he was a pop culture fixture. As Artie Abrams on Glee, he sang, danced, and wheeled his way into the hearts of millions. His voice? Crystal. His stage presence? Effortless. His sexuality? Off limits, at least for a while. Back then, Glee was the show for misfits, outcasts, and every queer teen who needed to see themselves on screen. And yet, ironically, many of the cast members, like Kevin, weren't out publicly. The pressure was intense. The spotlight was unrelenting. Kevin was beloved for playing a straight, nerdy, wheelchair-bound teen who dated cheerleaders. But behind the scenes, he was navigating an identity he wasn't ready to share. It wasn't fear of being gay. It was fear of what being openly gay in Hollywood could cost him. Years later, he admitted in interviews that he thought coming out would ruin his career. He said, "People knew. I knew, but I was terrified of the industry reaction, so I just stayed silent." At the height of Glee's fame, that silence was survival. But silence has an expiration date. In 2018, Kevin came out publicly in the most low-key Kevin way possible, with a tweet about Ariana Grande's No Tears Left to Cry, followed by a subtle gay. Just like that, it was official. Fans already suspected it. Some even felt a little hurt he hadn't come out sooner, but most just embraced him harder. Kevin followed that with a deeply personal interview where he explained why it had taken so long. He talked about growing up in Texas, raised Catholic, about being in the spotlight while still figuring himself out, about not wanting to be a statement, just a person. Since coming out, Kevin's been more open, more fun, and honestly, more himself than ever. He became a fierce advocate for LGBTQ+ rights, especially in media representation. He launched a podcast, stayed active on Twitter, and reconnected with the queer fan base that had supported him from the start, even when he hadn't been ready to speak. He's also spoken candidly about body image, mental health, and the emotional weight of growing up famous in a world where everyone thinks they already know you. And while he hasn't had a post-Glee breakout role yet, he's been doing something more important, living out loud. He's building a second act on his own terms, free from the need to play a version of himself that no longer fits. What makes Kevin McHale's story powerful isn't the drama, it's the honesty. He represents a generation of queer men who were out in private but hidden in public, not because they were ashamed, but because they were scared. And when he finally stepped forward, he did it softly, but firmly. He didn't need fireworks, just truth. Drop a 3 if Kevin McCale was part of your teen years and made you feel a little less alone, even when he wasn't saying it out loud yet. Julian Morris, The 18-Year Secret. Julian Morris was the kind of actor who could play anyone. The sweet boyfriend in Pretty Little Liars, the troubled prince in Once Upon a Time, the intense young doctor in New Girl. He was everywhere, but always just under the radar. Handsome, well-spoken, with a British accent that made everything sound smarter, Julian built a career as the guy you noticed, but didn't really know. While his career flourished quietly, his personal life stayed completely off the record. And for nearly 2 decades, that was intentional. Behind the scenes, Julian was in a committed relationship with another man, but no one knew. Not the press, not the fans, not even many people inside the industry. It wasn't a scandal. It was a choice. A very private, very careful, and very heavy one. For 18 years, he kept his relationship a secret. Not because he was ashamed, but because he was afraid. Afraid of being typecast. Afraid of being erased. Afraid of how something so personal could become a public weapon in an industry that's still learning how to handle queer love. Then, in December 2021, on his 18th anniversary with his partner Landon Ross, Julian finally posted a simple Instagram photo of the two of them, smiling, arms wrapped around each other. The caption read, "18 years together, and they were the best ones because they were with you." That was it. No press release, no People magazine exclusive. Just a quiet declaration of truth and an internet that absolutely melted. The post went viral. Celebs, queer fans, longtime followers, everyone shared it. Not just because it was sweet, but because it was historic. Julian Morris, this quiet, working actor who had been in our lives for years, was finally showing us his. What followed was a wave of love, but also some sadness. People realized how long he'd had to hide, how many red carpets he walked alone, how many times he had to smile through questions that weren't safe to answer. But here's the beauty in it. Julian didn't come out late. He came out when he was ready. And when he did, it wasn't to make a splash. It was to celebrate love, the kind that doesn't need approval or applause, the kind that survives 18 years in silence and still shines brighter than most celebrity romances ever could. Since coming out, Julian has remained relatively low-key. He still acts, still posts occasionally, still keeps most of his life private. But the weight that once hung over him, gone. Now, he walks through the world a little freer and a lot more seen. Julian's story isn't loud, it's not messy, it's not even particularly dramatic. But that's why it matters, because not every coming out has to be an explosion. Sometimes the quietest stories are the ones that stay with us the longest. Drop a 4 if Julian Morris's love story gave you hope that it's never too late to live your truth. Max Jenkins, the scene stealer, who never apologized. Max Jenkins may not be a household name yet, but if you've ever watched him in anything, you remember him. He's one of those actors who doesn't just play a role, he owns the frame. Witty, expressive, unapologetically queer, Max doesn't blend in. He bursts through. You probably first noticed him in NBC's The Mysteries of Laura, where he played Max Carnegie, the sassy and hyper-efficient assistant to Deborah Messing's detective. He was a standout in every scene, turning what could have been a tired stereotype into something smart, funny, and subversively real. But Max didn't stop there. He went on to appear in High Maintenance, Special, Dead to Me, and Uncoupled, every time bringing a version of himself to the screen that felt sharply written and deliciously him. He never tried to tone it down. He wasn't interested in playing it safe. From the beginning, Max was out, and out loud. No dramatic reveal, no public struggle with identity. He simply existed as he was, in an industry that often demands queer actors water themselves down to be palatable or marketable. Max said, "No thanks." He leaned into the things that made him different: his dry humor, his camp sensibility, and that unmistakable spark that only comes when someone's fully at home in their own skin. What's rare about Max Jenkins is that he didn't wait for permission. He didn't need a breakout leading man moment to live his truth. He started his career as a proud, visibly gay man, and he stayed that way even as Hollywood slowly plays catch-up. And while he's been part of plenty of ensemble casts, Max is no background player. He's the kind of actor who steals your attention with just a glance or line delivery. Every eye roll, every eyebrow raise, it all says, "I know exactly who I am." Behind the scenes, Max is just as vocal. He's used interviews and panels to call out industry hypocrisy, especially the idea that gay actors can't play straight roles, or that queer stories have to center trauma. He's funny, but he's sharp. Think drag queen energy with Broadway brain. He's also refreshingly honest about the challenges. Max has spoken about how being openly gay has, at times, limited the roles he's offered. He's turned down scripts that lean too far into caricature or made queerness the punchline. For him, it's about representation with integrity, not just visibility. So why is Max Jenkins on this list? Because he represents something crucial in modern queer storytelling: joy. Not the sanitized, market-friendly version, but the messy, campy, deeply intelligent kind of joy that comes from not caring what anyone thinks anymore. Max isn't a cautionary tale. He's not a coming-out sob story. He's proof that you can be fully yourself from day one and still carve out a space, still get work, still be seen. In an industry that's obsessed with reinvention, Max Jenkins has been consistent, brilliantly gay, endlessly witty, and undeniably unforgettable. Drop a 5 if Max Jenkins gives you hope that queer joy doesn't need permission, it just needs a spotlight. Fame doesn't protect you from fear. And coming out, even in Hollywood, is never simple. But these 5 actors didn't wait for the world to be ready. They carved space. They broke molds. They told their stories, some quietly, some boldly, all powerfully. From whirlwind romances to 18-year secrets, awkward auditions to viral freedom, each one reminds us, being visible isn't about being perfect. It's about being real. Their journeys are messy, inspiring, unfinished, and deeply human. And that's why they matter. So now we want to hear from you. Which story hit you the hardest? Who would you have put at number 1? Drop your thoughts, your numbers, your favorite quotes. We're reading everything. And hey, this list is just the beginning. Because the future of Hollywood, yeah, it's looking pretty damn queer.